So I thought that the wheel bearing is bad on this Ford Fiesta. In order to get access to it, I removed the wheel. I sprayed some WD-40 on the strut bolts and nuts and also on the brake caliper bolts and the brake caliper holding bracket bolts, and don't forget the track rod end bolt. You can use a rag underneath, just like me, so you can catch the WD-40. I break loose the axle nut. It is a 32mm hex socket. Then I started to remove the brake assembly. First, I break loose the brake caliper bolts, the top and the bottom one. I believe that's a 14mm bolt or a 12mm bolt. So if you have gotten here so far, please let me know in the comment section why do you watch my videos and what would you like to see next. And please feel free to enjoy the rest of the video. Once I'm done with it, I removed the brake caliper itself, and with the help of a hook I hooked it onto the coil spring of the shock absorber. Now I removed the two bolts of the brake caliper holding bracket. I guess they are either 15mm or 17mm hex bolts. So remove the top and the bottom one as well. Guess what car is in the background, by the way? And then you can remove the brake caliper holding bracket itself. I removed it together with brake pads. Then I removed the brake disc. I was lucky that I could remove it by hand only. The next thing was the track rod and ball joint nut. I believe that's a 90mm ball. So I break it loose. After came the two bolts for the strut and the knuckle. I just removed the nuts but still kept the bolts in the place. Then I removed the nut for the lower control arm ball joint. I believe that's a 50mm nut. So for the strut bolt and nut I used a spanner and a ratchet. The spanner is size 15mm and the ratchet is 18mm socket. As I said, I just removed the nut but kept the bolt in place. I removed the ABS sensor as well, also called the wheel speed sensor. The reason why I did it because I was about to remove the wheel bearing, so Some people just disconnect the ABS sensor, but I rather removed it. Now I had to break loose the track rod and ball joint. I use my fancy tool for that, the ball joint separator. It is pretty cheap tool, but really handy. So just put it around the ball joint and then start ratcheting the bolt, and it will push off the ball joint from its place. Now I tried to remove the lower control arm ball joint with my suspension arm lever tool, but the car wasn't lifted high enough, so I couldn't do it. Then I tried with the other tool I had, this little S hook and the pry bar. I managed to push it down a little bit, but I wasn't able to push it down all the way so I can remove the ball joint from the knuckle. But here I seen that the ball joint was damaged already and it had a decent play in it. So here is where I decided not to change the wheel bearing. I changed the ball joint first. However, I decided not to change the ball joint only, but rather the whole control arm, as it was only 15 pounds more. The ball joint would be 15 pounds and the lower control arm was 30 pounds, and it was a lot easier job to change the whole as just the ball joint. So I went ahead, bought a new one and then replaced it. It is held by two other bolts. You just simply undo them and you are good to go. You can remove the lower control arm. As you can see, it had a decent play in it. I could move it with my hands, and as you can see, the new one couldn't be moved by hands. So after I replaced the lower control arm and the ball joint as well, I tried to move the wheel from side to side, and as you can see, it still has the play in it. So I'm gonna change the wheel bearing as well, but that's gonna be the next video. Thank you for watching, see you in the next one, bye.